Hey everybody, Forrest and Dennis back with you at Life Assist, and today we're going to be starting our Airway series training videos. I'm super excited about this. We're going to start out our series with Airway adjuncts, okay? And there's usually about 3 categories. First one is called BLS Airway, which is basic life support airways.
Okay.
Second one are advanced airways, and then we move into what are called ET or endotracheal tubes.
Okay.
Okay.
So what do we have in front of us? We have, I'm assuming since we're starting, BLS Airways?
You got it.
All right, and how many different types of BLS Airways are there?
There's typically 2 types of BLS airways.
Okay.
There are OPAs and NPAs.
All right, so let's start with the OPA. What is an OPA?
OPA stands for, you know how we love our acronyms in EMS, oropharyngeal airway. And basically what that means is it's another name for an airway device that's inserted into the mouth.
Okay, right on. So what does it do? What does an OPA do?
OPA basically, simply enough, keeps the tongue from falling back and blocking the airway.
Okay.
That's what it does.
And so it helps you establish like a clean airway so you can administer care, right?
Absolutely.
All right, and so when would you use like an OPA?
So usually these are going to be reserved for patients that are unconscious. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because if somebody's conscious and you try to insert one of these, their gag reflex is going to kick in.
Okay. And
that's going to be all bad. So unconscious patients to establish airway.
And why are you thinking about administering this? Like, what do you see in a patient when they... why do you use it?
Yeah, great question. So if somebody falls unconscious, basically their jaw muscles actually relax. And when that happens, the tongue tends to relax too, and it could fall back and block that opening called the epiglottis, which is the pathway to our lungs, which is where we get oxygen. Okay. So we're definitely thinking about that.
All right.
That's when we're going to administer it.
And so I'm assuming these go into the mouth, mm-hmm. and they're going to hit like a certain part of anatomy. So is there like a target that you kind of want to make sure that you're hitting with these?
Yeah. So these are inserted into the mouth, which mm-hmm. we're going to demonstrate later. They just go in and they follow the curvature, that's why they're curved, of what's called the oropharynx. That's mm-hmm. the anatomy part of the airway.
And so it's going really deep into the throat.
It is. It's
right.
going deep down to the throat. It's going to keep that tongue out of the way and keep a clear passage for us to get that oxygen.
Sounds like it's very obtrusive. Like in my experience, like mm-hmm. that's more for like an advanced skill. But these are still basic?
Yeah, you would be surprised. These skills can be inserted by both EMTs, EMT intermediates, paramedics. Pretty much anyone can insert these with any type of EMS training.
Very cool. You mentioned there were 2 parts: the OPA and then what's the
NPA?
NPA.
Yeah. So the NPA stands for nasopharyngeal airway. So I'm sure you could guess that is going to be going through the nose. Right.
And so what does it do?
Yeah, so basically it does the same thing. It's just a different route. So instead of going into the mouth, this is going through the nose, and this again is going to keep the tongue from blocking that, also important passage to the airway so we can get oxygen in.
Gotcha. So it's 2 different tools to use it in a different way. So mm-hmm. when exactly would you use an NPA over an OPA?
Well, of course you can use these on unconscious patients as well. But the cool thing about these is these are going to also be used for someone who's, heavily subdued or semi-conscious, like someone who overdosed or acute alcohol intoxication, something like that, because this is not really going to activate that gag reflex.
Gotcha.
Now, don't get me wrong. If someone's conscious and I up their nose, you're not going to like it.
Right. And so why do you use the NPA?
Yeah, same thing. Conscious, even semi-unconscious, everything starts to relax in the body, and they can make that tongue fall back, blocking that airway.
It's the same use. This is depending on like what signs you're seeing from the patient, what's going to be the most beneficial for them.
You got it.
And are they kind of the same? Like, what's the target really that you're aiming for with the nasal? Are you aiming for the same place? Is it going that far?
So it's eventually going to end up in the same place, down at the base there of the tongue. But remember, this is inserted in the nose, so instead of the oropharynx, this is now inserted into what is called the nasopharynx.
Gotcha.
So that's an anatomically correct term for that. So that's what
gotcha. So you're going just a different route into the same area.
You got it.
Okay, and that one sounds a little more intrusive. Is it still like basic license?
It isn't. Same thing. EMTs, paramedics, they can all use these devices.
They can all use them.
Yep.
Awesome.
Hey guys, yeah, it's me again. Ryan forgot to remind me about our special guest, the Pulmodine Nasal Flow NPA. Part 2, details to follow. Don't miss it. Yep.
They definitely physically look different, though.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of kind of different makeup and anatomy of the
Absolutely.
device itself. So you want to go over kind of the key points of those things?
Yeah, so OPA, basically the anatomy, it's kind of a flexible, rigid plastic. It's got what's called a flange on the top, so it doesn't, when you put it inside the mouth, it doesn't go too far. It stays seated on the lips. It's got a bite block here.
Okay.
In case our patient starts to wake up a little bit, they might start biting down.
Have you ever had them like where they're like fully unconscious and they still kind of have that little nerve reaction?
A little bit, yeah. They start biting down, or something inside them's like, I don't like this in me, but they can't quite figure out how to get it out yet. So this keeps the tube from kinking.
And unobstructive, so you can get that air still.
And then we got the curved portion, which mimics the anatomy, so it goes in smoothly. And then inside we have the air pocket, so that way when we're administering oxygen, we've got a clear pathway right to the lungs.
So when would you use this one over this one? They look completely different, right?
So these are basically pretty much the same thing. They're just manufactured a little bit different.
Gotcha.
But it's still going to get the same thing. It's still going to allow a special channel or some sort of tube to get air actually into the lungs.
Whatever the department kind of likes. It's not really
just
different uses. It's just a different design.
Yep, it's gonna accomplish the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so now with that one, they look kind of similar. You still got something there. What's going on with this one, the NPA?
Yeah. So similar to the OPA, this is again the flange. This is so when we stick it in the nose that it doesn't go down too far and we can't push it. So this keeps it from going down too far, and this sits right at the
it'd be kind of hard to dig it out with the wires.
It would not be fun.
And that might be an advanced skill.
And then going down the tube again, open cannula allows us to get that oxygen, and it's more of a very flexible type of rubber tubing. So it's not as rigid as the OPA.
Are these one size fits all?
They are not. They actually come in a lot of different sizes. So OPAs typically use or are measured in what are called millimeters. And the typical range for millimeter for OPAs is about 40 millimeter, which is small infant, and then up to 110, even up to 120 millimeters. Remember when we did the IV video?
Right.
Remember it was the opposite?
Right, with the gauges, because that's how gauges are measured, really.
Yeah, so a 14 gauge was a big one, and then a 22 was a small guy. Here, the bigger the number, the bigger the OPA.
Relationship to the actual size of those.
Yes.
Got it. Anything else you want to talk about the nasal?
Yeah. So
I did notice one thing different.
Yeah. So let's talk about the sizes for the NPAs too. These are measured in the French catheter system, catheter scale system.
Similar to like a suction tube.
Yeah, exactly. So again, usually on both OPAs and NPAs, the size will be listed somewhere on the device. The kind of typical range for small guys is going to be as small as 20 French. And then we can go all the way up to 36 Frenches, which can be bigger. And I don't have these exact sizes, but you can see the difference.
There's a substantial difference between those.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's some great information about these NPAs and OPAs from like a clinical perspective.
Yeah.
But I think the next video, what we're going to plan on doing is talking a little bit more on the sales side, a little bit about like what these manufacturers are, and we might even kind of administer one of these to a one of our guests. So let's try another that. And even get one of these inserted into an Airway mannequin and see how that actually happens.
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. We'll be able to show you guys actually how they work. Right on. Thanks for watching, Dennis. Thanks for that, and we'll see you in segment 2.